Welcome to Art for All Ages Online. Today we have a really wonderful painting for you. It is super simple and everybody can do it. And of course it's done only 100% with nothing more than our good friend the sponge. It is super simple. And as always, we're going to walk you through it one simple step at a time. This painting does require a stencil, but other than that, it is super simple and it can be done in a wide range of different color formats. And we'll talk with you about some of those. So this is our painting for the day today. It's painting number 10. It is the New York skyline in the springtime. Because of the sky that is painted, it is more along the lines of the time of the spring. The birds are the only thing that you might want to add that will require the brush, but they're optional at the end of the painting. As I mentioned, to do today's painting, it will require stencil number 14. If you do not yet have all of the needed supplies, the stencils and so forth, in order to create today's painting, we highly recommend that you go back to our website and purchase those additional items so that you can complete today's painting. Let's go ahead and carry on. We're going to use the stencil a little bit later in the painting, but we're going to get started by painting the sky. We're only going to use the brush to mix up the paint. And as almost always, we're going to start with a bright yellow in our palette. So find the brightest yellow in your palette and mix up a nice large batch of that color. We'll go ahead and paint some of that bright yellow to save the paint onto the tip of the sponge. We'll go ahead and put the color onto the sponge. And we're going to start, it doesn't matter if you start on the left or the right, but it matters that you start on the tape and you pull all the way across. Now, after we have created that nice bright yellow sunset at the bottom of the page, get about halfway, wet the tip of the sponge, squeeze it out, and then here on the edge, soften up what you've painted. What we're trying to do is we're trying to create that beautiful sunset so that it fades into white. We'll wet the tip again and just soften that up a little bit more here at the top. That's what we're looking for. See how that nicely fades? There's no line. We'll clean out the sponge and move on. As I mentioned, today's painting is super simple. In fact, what you just did, we're going to do the same thing all over again. We're just going to change two simple things. We're going to change the color, and we're going to change the location of where we're going to put that color. Let me show you what we're talking about. Again, we'll use the brush just to mix up the color. This time, we're going to use the Prussian blue in our palette. So find the nice blue that you have in your palette and mix up a reasonable batch of that. What you want to do then is clean out your brush. And as we mentioned, we're going to do the same basic thing, except we've changed the color and the location is going to be changed to be here at the top. Here's the trick. A very common mistake is when people bring the next color down, they bring it all the way to the yellow and then they try to blend it in, and it doesn't work well. What you want to do is you want to add the color just a couple of fingers width at the top. You'll still have some white here at the bottom underneath it. Then you wet the sponge's tip, squeeze it out, and then you can soften that to blend into the yellow. We'll show you what we're talking about. We have the color on the sponge now. We're at the top, again starting on the tape, and we'll pull across the top. Now once we've done that, see we still have this white here. That's good. That's what we're looking for. Wet the tip, squeeze it out, and then softly come back and blend that in so it fades into there softly. See, we barely even touch the yellow here, but we have the blue at the top and it fades in. We'll clean out the sponge and go ahead and move to the next part of today's painting. Now we have done the top and we've done the bottom. We want to work on the middle. The tricky part of this is you have to work fast. And the reason is because we want to be able to blend the painting color both up and down. We'll show you what we're talking about. This time what we want to do is we want to mix up a cherry red color. We'll mix it over here into our palette. This color here is going to be streaked right across the middle of the page. And when you do this, you're going to say, "Ah, God, it's red!" Don't worry. Quickly wet the tip, squeeze it out, and then soften it up, going upwards, and then squeeze the tip out of the water and soften it up downwards. We'll show you what we're talking about. Here we go. A nice, bright, strong red. Wet the tip, squeeze it out, blend it upwards into the blue. Same thing, wet the tip, squeeze it out, and now blend it downwards into the yellow. We didn't get quite enough of that, we'll get a little bit more. And we want to bring this into the yellow here, just a little bit. There we go. Clean out the sponge, and we're going to add one more color. This time we're going to go ahead and put in some of the Indian yellow color. It's the orangish color in your palette, and we can mix it right here on top of where we mixed our yellow. This is going to add a little oomph to our sky. We can go ahead and also paint that right on top of the tip of the brush, of the sponge. Put the sponge in the color, and here towards the lower middle section, we're going to add that nice bright orangey yellow color. Wet the tip, squeeze it out, and same thing, softly blend that into the rest of the sky there. Excellent. Clean out our sponge, and one more color for the sky. Make sure we also clean out our brush. I want a little more punch here at the top of the sky. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix up some of the purple and some of the Payne's gray. Make it nice and dark. Now when we put this next color on, we want to be soft. We don't want to push really hard. We'll put it on the sponge, and we'll again be here at the top of the painting, and we're just going to streak that across a little bit. Wet the tip, squeeze it out, and then come back in and blend that in to the rest of the sky there. I got a little wavy there. That's fine. In fact, if you want to come back in here and add a few little waves of some other colors, you can do that also. There. Add some variation to the sky. We'll squeeze out our sponge and move on. At this point, we're going to now begin to utilize the stencil, which will make this painting very simple from this point on. The catch is three things. Gotta have three. And the catch is three things. Number one, you have to make sure that your painting is completely dry before you move on to this process. Number two, when you use the stencil, you have to make sure that you squeeze your sponge tight, that it is nice and dry for this particular part of the painting. You don't want it too wet because it will bleed underneath the stencil. And the third thing is you have to hold that stencil down in place because you don't want it to slip and slide so that you lose your position. We'll show you what this is all about as we go through this next part of the painting. So again, we have stencil number 14. There's very little matter of how you use this, except for you don't want to use it like this. This is a very common mistake. People think, oh, well, this is the skyline. That's what I want. But you're actually going to be painting the sky instead of the buildings. What you really need to do is you need to flop it over so that it is in this direction. Now, where you put your buildings, if you want them way up high, then you're going to have a lot of dark black buildings down here and you'll lose your yellow sky. But if you put the stencil down low, then you'll be able to have that nice yellow sky, and you'll be able to see the sunset in between. Now, you'll notice that this part of the stencil goes off the edge. It's below the tape. This one is right along the edge there. I think I'm going to move this just up a little bit higher. There we go. I don't mind one of them being below, but I don't want both of them being below. There we go. So now this one here shows that it's not touching the tape, and this one here is below the tape, and that's good. That gives you some variety there. The other thing is that you do need to, as I mentioned, hold down the stencil. We have been utilizing the sponge mostly in a horizontal motion, which is fine. Not now. What we want to do now is we want to put the sponge here and pull down. Here and pull down. The catch with this is as you pull down with the sponge, you want to be able to pull softly away from the painting. That pulling softly away from the painting will give you that lift motion, which will taper off at the bottom. We'll show you what that's all about too. The color we're looking for is simply the Payne's Gray, nice and dark. You can also add some purple into that, which will make it a little bit more lively of a color. And no doubt, no matter how much of this color you mix up, you will run out of paint and you will need to mix more, because it does take a lot of paint to do this part of the painting. Same thing, I'll go ahead and save some paint by painting the tip of the brush, a sponge. We'll go ahead and put the sponge into the color and watch what we're going to do here. Holding down the stencil, we come right to the edge of the stencil and actually on the stencil itself, and we're going to pull down. And we're going to repeat that pattern until we get all the way across. Now you'll notice this soft lifting wispy feel at the bottom. That's the lift motion in order to create that kind of a feel. You'll also notice I didn't want to make the whole buildings very, very dark my first time through. You will need to go through at least twice to make them dark enough. I've grabbed some more paint onto my sponge. I continue to utilize the lifting motion to create that wispy part at the bottom. Grab some more paint and make it nice and dark at the top end of the buildings and softer and lighter at the bottom end of the buildings. Now I want to show you what this looks like before we say we're finished. We're going to very carefully remove the stencil, and you can see, voila, we have the skyline. In fact, I'm happy with this skyline. I'm going to leave it just the way it is. But if you felt that you wanted it all filled in and dark and black, well, then you just return the stencil and repeat the same process until you've made it completely black. We'll go ahead and remove the stencil now. As always, we'll take the back end of the sponge and clean off the stencil. This is important that it is cleaned so that it is ready for us to use the next time we want for this process. I'll go ahead and use a towel to dry off the stencil. Now this painting is looking really good. It is an optional thing, but if you want, you can use your fine small brush with some of that same Payne's gray color that's nice and dark. Roll the brush into the palette, into the paint, and come over to your painting very carefully and create some soft, wispy birds that are flying off in the distance. This again is an optional thing. You don't have to do this, but if you want, it does add some nice character and some life to your painting. I tend to not like even numbers with my birds. So there's 5 birds. We'll clean out our sponge, and we're looking good. I'll go ahead and take the tape off of the painting and see what we've done. And there you are. With the tape now removed and the beautiful white border, our painting looks complete and not too dissimilar from the original painting that we started off with. This is painting number 10, the New York skyline in the springtime. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you for coming and enjoying this class with us today. In fact, we do hope that you did enjoy it and that you check out the rest of our library for all the rest of our paintings, both with and without stencils. This is Art for All Ages, and we look forward to seeing you next time online.